Welcome, everyone. This is Emotions and Healing, Episode 6. This is part of an incredible series that we're sharing with you about how emotions and healing happen together and what it means through the idea of the five elements and the way they function as a nurturing cycle and an opportunity for change and growth. Today, we are doing the wood element. We're looking at direction, decision, and the release of anger and resentment. I am Dr. Michelle Greenwell, Complementary and Integrative Health, and I am joined today by my two beautiful guests, Kate Montgomery and Denise Cambiotti. Welcome, ladies.
Hello.
Hello.
So far in our journey, we have explored central and governing, which is anchoring emotional stability through a Shen and Ko cycle. We've looked at sovereign fire for joy and connection, the earth element for nourishment and empathy, metal element for breathing and release, and the water element for fear and anxiety. Today we arrive at the wood element, governed by the liver and the gall bladder. This is the series of systems that are responsible for vision, planning, decision-making, and forward movement. Wood energy is about growth, expansion, and direction, and it's the energy that helps us set goals, take action, and move forward in life. Now, when this energy becomes imbalanced, what happens is emotions like anger, resentment, and frustration can take hold.
Never mind.
Okay. This episode invites us to explore how do we think and make decisions when we are frustrated or angry? How does resentment shape our actions and relationships? What happens when we have too much drive or not enough? I want to give you a little bit of background about Kate and Denise. This will give you a chance to find out a little bit more about how they're going to bring their perspective in. So Kate is a holistic health practitioner, certified sports massage therapist, naturopathic doctor, a bioenergetic wellness professional, and author. With a background in respiratory therapy and decades of experience working with athletes, performers, and professionals, she supports emotional resiliency, performance, and physical alignment. Kate integrates muscle monitoring, movement, and nervous system regulation to help clients move through emotional barriers and restore clarity and confidence. So just a little background. Hey, Kate.
Hey, a little.
Denise is a bioenergetic wellness educator, and she is the founder of Muscle Tuners International. She specializes in touch for health, muscle monitoring, bouncing through meridians. Denise helps clients understand how emotional stress influences posture, movement, and healing. Her work bridges clinical practice and education and empowers individuals to work with their body's innate intelligence. You will see that she often will be working with people in osteopathy, massage therapy, recreational therapy, helping to hone skills and make things easier in those professions. We go to our ritual. So while you're listening to the podcast, we want you to have a healing session. We want this opportunity for you to relax, calm, and restore. And so I'm going to invite Denise to share what she has put into her teacup or her glass today, and then we'll share where we're going. What have you got, Denise?
I've got Awesome Island Passion,
No.
and it just jumped out at me today. I'm not sure if it has anything to do with the wood element, but it's got lemon balm and peppermint, strawberry leaves, black currant leaves, blackberry leaves, lemongrass, orange blossom lavender, heather flowers, rose petals, chamomile, ginger, and rosehip in a base of orange rooibos. So yummy. That's what's in my mug. And I'm also experimenting with steeping it in hydrogen water.
In hydrogen water. Beautiful. Give it a little bit of extra. Wonderful.
Idea.
All right. And Kate, what have you got today?
Well, I rushed in on this one. I wanted something soothing, so I put chamomile and lavender again, and then added some of my lavender buds from the garden. for a little extra soothing, calming emotions. So so when we have all the emotions of the liver, I figured, you might as well have something calming to soothe it. So it's a good one to do. It's also a good nighttime one too. So lavender and chamomile. Yay.
Fabulous. All right, and I'm going to bring forward from the Cape Breton Tea Company one of our teas that is a you love it or hate it kind of tea, but man, when you love this tea, it is something you just keep navigating back to. So what I want you to think about is, as we go into today and we're looking at the wood element, anger and resentment, some of those emotions, those higher emotions, if there's something that you want to transform today, just bring that to the forefront. And I'm going to bring you the affirmation that's on the back of the package today. As I let go of the baggage of my past, I feel a new energy that opens up new power within me. This is an opportunity for us to drop that baggage off and move forward with a lighter footstep. I'm going to highlight dandelion for resilience and release. Dandelion supporting detoxification, helping us to clear stored frustrations and move stagnant energy. And the juniper berry, protection and clarity. The juniper helps us to refine our direction, release emotional heaviness, and then move forward with intention. Together, when we take all the herbs that are within this combination, there's about 8 to 12, we have an opportunity to bring clarity, direction, and release. So as you sip today, listening to this podcast, we'd like you to reflect, where are you holding some tension? Where might you be pushing too hard? Or maybe you're not pushing, you're stuck somewhere. And how would you like to be moving forward? And with that, cheers. Thank you so much for coming for episode 6.
Cheers.
And of course, that first smell just brings the senses alive. I'm just going to give us a little educational background on the wood element and from the Chinese medicine perspective. So you have that, and then we'll dive into some questions. So in Chinese medicine, the liver governs the smooth flow of energy, or qi, for vision, planning, and emotional regulation. The gall bladder supports decision-making, courage, and action. When the wood is balanced, we feel clear, decisive, and motivated, and we move with purpose and flexibility. When the wood is imbalanced, we've got too much energy. That's when the anger, irritability, frustration, impulsive decisions show up. And if we have not enough energy, we might be indecisive, stagnant, stuck, lack some purpose of direction, and be hesitant about what we're doing. From a touch for health perspective, the key muscles we can include here are the anterior deltoid, which allow us to lift our arms in front of us, Popliteus or Popliteus, which is behind the knee, helps us to flex and turn, and Pectoralis Sternal, which allows us to raise our arms up high and expand, and the rhomboids, which allow us to bring the arms up from the side. These muscles may seem small and secondary, but they play essential roles in how we can turn, lift, stabilize, or push away. And when tension builds through frustration or effort-driven action, these muscles can become strained. They can affect the posture, coordination, and overall movement efficiency. So let's get started with some questions. And I know for those that have not been involved in this 5-element theory and how these elements work together, Denise, would you like to bring forward that 5-element wheel? And let's have a look at how the wood element fits into this wheel and what happens when there's too much energy or not enough.
Sure thing, but for some reason, Zoom is telling me I have 2 documents to share, and I really only want to share one of them. So let's see if you got the right one. Are we seeing the one you wish?
Yep,
That's the one.
Fabulous.
that's it.
So here we are in the wood element. And
Okay.
does anybody else beside me want to carry on about this? Because traditionally I go through how all these feed into one another and control one another. But how about you just continue on with what you were saying, Michelle? And I think Kate might also have something she wants to mention.
Yeah, when I get to a question, one of the questions that we have, I'll need
Okay.
that back. So,
Perfect. So as we're looking at that diagram, you can see that wood has a conversation with fire in a nurturing cycle, and water has a conversation to wood in a nurturing cycle. So if you add water to wood, wood's going to grow. And wood, if you heat it up, it's going to be something that can help with the fire to burn. However, you see those lines in the center that make a star, and that's the relationship that happens back and forth between the systems. And so what I was mentioning is the wood element has a significant relationship with the earth, in that when the roots go down from a tree into the earth, it actually moves the earth around. So there's a dynamic changing that happens. If we go over to the metal element, you'll see that it has an arrow that goes across to wood. And if we wanted to do something like take a metal and create it into an axe, we could use that axe to chop the wood. So that means we're going to take the wood from being a stem or a trunk, tree trunk, and we would be cutting it up into smaller pieces. So we're changing and transforming it. This is how we also have the opportunity to change patterns and emotions. When we have relationships between these different systems, we now have an opportunity to do something different. So let's look at the emotions of anger, frustration, and resentment, and how they can influence how the body moves and responds. Denise, do you want to share a little bit about your experience with clients in this regard?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting, the muscles you highlighted are all three of the four you mentioned, like anterior deltoid, the front part of the shoulder, the rhomboids, the pec major sternal. These are all fundamentally essential for a healthy shoulder movements. And the last one was the popliteus behind the knees. So when people have a lot of trapped anger, they tend to have a lot of tension in their upper body. I think most people would go, yeah, think about that. You feel uptight when you're mad, you know, and anger and frustration and all that has you hunching your shoulders up to your ears. So just observing people in their natural environment, if you see that going on, you might suspect that there's unresolved anger, frustration, resentment going on, possibly. I mean, there's other reasons because muscles can be out of balance just because, but when muscles are out of balance, emotions are out of balance, and emotions being out of balance affect the muscles. It's the day and the night cycle. You can't have one without the other to some degree. So the uptightness of the upper body, and then the one behind the knee, the popliteus. This, when you are angry and you plant your feet, you literally technically lock your knees, which hyperextends them backwards. That is the popliteus is pulling, and that locks up the knee. It's not healthy for a happy, healthy knee over time. So it is interesting to see things, and I've always have a story. I was invited to come do a demonstration in front of a group, and the hostess wanted to know if I could work on the dog. And I'm walking in and going, okay, sure, because with these techniques, we can surrogate for babies, we can surrogate for people in a hospital unconscious, not able to move, got an arm in a cast, young children, did I mention that? And pets. So it was just like, oh, okay. So I'm basically using bioenergetic muscle testing to identify, well, okay, what am I going to do to support this dog? And popliteus was the muscle that came up.
Mm.
And I'm totally going, well, that's unusual. This is the popliteus muscle that is the primary thing to, if I was going to do one thing for this lovely little fella here, it would be, and that's a muscle behind the knee. And people in the room gasped. They literally gasped. And I'm like, what kind of an interesting group have I fallen into here? First, it's I'm not doing a demonstration on a person, and now they're all going. It turned out that the animal had just recently had surgery for the back of his knee on his
Oh
hind
my
leg.
goodness.
Oh, oh.
And I'm not saying that the pet had anger issues, but I just find it fascinating when you ask the body to reveal where it's holding its stress, that it can be so clear. And yeah, that's just one of the muscles related to the liver and gallbladder elements that I could tell you stories about. So yeah, there can be lack of motion in the joint, healthy motion, lubrication, affects the bursa, all that stuff. And the last thing I'll say, and I didn't appreciate this until I took a training with somebody who was an acupuncturist, because most of the people I take my training from don't have that kind of a background.
Mm.
And it went right into my head when she said that the wood element controls the ligaments.
Yeah.
And that was taught very much in passing. Oh, by the way, there's certain things that the elements affect. Da 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 da. This is muscles. This is, da 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 da. But when the acupuncturist said it for some reason, it really landed with me. And how many people have issues with their joints? And in case you don't know this, a ligament straps a bone from this side of the joint over to the other side of the joint and keeps your body from your bones from falling apart. And how many people have issues in their ligaments, in the knees, in the shoulders, the hands, the feet, tons of ligaments. So just wanted to bring that awareness up, that if you have itis issues, it's not always in the muscles, it can be in the ligaments. And so pay attention to managing your emotions.
Wow, Denise, I had not heard about that for the ligaments, so thank you for that nugget today. But that just reminded me that those ligaments work in a figure-8 pattern,
Yeah.
and that's where figure-8 patterns for the wood element then become really important. And in the work that we do, we use figure-8s in lots of different ways, and in Tai Chi, those figure-8s show up all over the patterns. So lovely for balancing wood element. Thank you for that nugget. Okay, Kate, we
Wow.
see emotions like frustration or anger that affect decision making. I'm curious, with your experience and the lens that you can bring to this, what that means for an athlete or a performer or a professional who has to think really quickly within seconds for their performance, and how having these emotions stuck can really affect their performance.
Hmm. So one of the things that I tell every client, no matter what their career is, and if they're going to give a presentation or a performance or run for a race, is to make sure the energy is flowing throughout their body so that they don't hold tension. And that's called breathing. So we have talked about that before. And when you take a nice deep breath and relax your body and shake yourself out, and then you're moving onto a stage. At least that's what I used to do. I take a deep breath and then I walk out on that stage and just go start talking about what I did. And and you know, I don't have so many of them that the frustration, the anxiousness sometimes, but it's more of a build up to getting ready to go on. and getting ready to perform or getting ready to run the race to their expectations and things like that. So the biggest thing is I tell them to relax their shoulders, do some shoulder rolls, move things around, arm circles, anything, so that they loosen the joint up, so that there are no ligaments that are getting stuck. And I'm surprised you didn't know that about the ligaments. And it's important that they loosen everything up and shake it out and, hold their ESRs and go and just take a deep breath and then think in their mind's eye what they're going to say or what they're going to do and visualize everything so that they have already done it. They see themselves in that moment and have performed it and ready to go. One of the things I did in my research for this was I brought out my applied kinesiology synopsis book by David S. Walther. And he has a chapter in there on healing and emotions. And it's really great to see it because it's half the stuff is what I've been doing. So we can call it neurolinguistic programming or what. But he talks about, when you have an issue, whatever the emotion is to confront it and to place your finger pads on your prominent emesis right here and push up, close your eyes, and to see, hear, smell, feel, and taste it. And see the colors, see everything about it, which is I've done this for years with people. And so it was interesting to read it because I've never read it there before. But he talks about it. And so that in itself was such an amazing thing. Well, the other interesting thing was we talk about our muscles. And in the frustrations and any type of emotion, is we always have you ever heard the phrase in your gut? It's your gut feeling. Well, gut, that's stomach. So from liver, we go straight across over to the stomach. And in that is, yes, thank you. Here it comes. So we have wood over to stomach, and that's earth. So we have wood and earth. So both complement each other as far as what we're going to do. And when that happens, then the person, the muscles that go with stomach, well, that's the other pec muscle. That's clavicular. And one of the things that Dr. Walther says, you can take that off now, Denise. No more. So thank you. And so one of the things that he said was to look not only at pec sternal, which is detoxification, but you want to look at clavicular because clavicular, it's your gut. And again, it rounds out your shoulders, it moves things. It's just like the two muscles going together. They both have their whole thing in holding your posture, moving your shoulders back, open up. Because one of the things is you'll see them like this and round out, and there's your posture. There takes rhomboids, and that takes everybody else. But the interesting thing about that was it was your gut. So any emotion you feel, you usually feel it in your stomach. You get churning in your gut. You get this acid gut. Your pH changes. Everything goes off when you have anger or frustration or anything. And so his big thing was to take the neurovascular reflex points. And those here are on the prominent emesis. I can't pronounce that word. And just push up, close your eyes, breathe, and go through the vision of see, hear, smell, taste, feel, everything in living color, the emotion and the issue that's going on. And feel that pulse come up again. You're infusing blood throughout everything in your body, especially those muscles and that emotion and that element. So everything is getting treated by your own little finger pads here. And That I found very interesting that if you focus on not only sternal for what we were talking about, but look at clavicular too, because those pec muscles open all the way out, all the way across, and they take care of not only your liver, gallbladder, and your stomach, all in the same quadrant of the triad. They're all there. So this is early in the talk, but that's a tool. So you can easily just steer if you're feeling your emotions and you get frustrated and you get angry, place your finger pads here and just push up, close your eyes, see, hear, smell, taste, feel everything in living color, what you are going through. And you will feel the blood flow come and you feel the pulse stabilize. So blah, 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 blah to ba, 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 which is what you want to do. So back to the original question. Yes, I did all this with my clients and I would teach them how to do this before they walked on a field, before they walked on a stage, before they did anything, or if they were just having a bad day and something happened. So these are tools and things that if you recognize what's going on, or you're starting to feel your stomach kind of queasy because you got angry at something, you got frustrated and anxious, just reflex, neurovascular, press up, breathe. Those will help to calm you. And these muscles will open up and your heart will pump easier. Everything will pump easier and you can move on in your day.
So, for those people that are listening, Kate is referring to the front eminences is on your forehead. You're putting your fingertips really lightly into the forehead. She was talking about doing this tight little lift there. So, just in case you're listening and you weren't quite sure where she was indicating, that's what you would be doing. And the beautiful thing that I just want to bring forward from that 5-element wheel is that the deep breathing, which comes from the metal element, affects the wood element to transform wood. And the wood element, being in angst, can transform the earth element by going into the stomach and then those emotions. So you can now see an example of how those relationships get established and built up. So if we move from what you've said, Kate, to Denise, I was just thinking about, how when people just decide they're just going to push through. So things aren't going quite the way they wanted. They want to finish a project. Often it's in the garden, right? You get going and you've got everything out and you're dirty. And the last thing you want to do is stop because you are tired. So you're just going to push through. And can you just share what happens when people kind of override themselves and what happens to the emotions and the muscles?
They hurt themselves consistently, and I'm laughing because well, it must have been about 10 years ago. We had a huge snowfall here in the Vancouver area, and we're the California of Canada. And when it snows, it's usually a couple inches, but this was like we were getting a foot and a half in a day and a half, 2 days. And it just kept coming, and I kept going outside and shoveling. And we have a large driveway and needs to be safe when I have clients coming to visit the house, right? Because my clinic's at the house. So then there's the whole sidewalk that goes to the back of the house where my clinic door is. And then there's the postie who goes from, because we're at a cul-de-sac, he comes through our property, goes through and accesses the lane on the other side to continue on his route. So now I have to shovel the sidewalk so he's safe. My husband's out of town. My kids aren't at home. And so it's on my shoulders. And then sometimes we get deliveries to the front door. So you've never been to my house, Michelle. One day you're going to have to. But now there's steps, that sidewalk that goes along the whole front of this house, the length of the house to the far end. The front door is on the far end of the house now. But not only that, there's the back driveway where I keep my car. So I had to shovel that if I needed to get out. And not only that, but there's at that time, our neighbor was recently widowed and she was having nursing care come to her place. So I access her yard from the back lane and her neighbor comes to check on her. So I'm shoveling a path to her back door for the neighbor and around the house. And for the nurse, had to make space for the nurse to park and be able to walk safely to get the front door. Because here, when it snows, it has this tendency of melting a little bit and then freezing. So if you don't get at it right away, you're walking on ice. It's not very good. And again, had to go all the way down to the street so the postie could bring the mail to Mrs. Rossi. Well, I got to one point where I'm going, twinge. Oh, I only have like 10 feet to go. Twinge. Oh, I only have like 9 feet to go. Twinge. And I'm dropping to my knees. And that was the most severe injury I ever gave myself. And it took a little while for me to find a chiropractor that could name the ligament that I had strained and fix it. And so every time I overdo, and I see clients now who have lower back issues, I always check into that ligament. There's 2 or 3 that are very important. And so I see when people come in and they all say, so sorry for the long story, but how many of us go, oh, I only have a little bit more to do. I'll finish. Like you said, I'm already dirty. I won't, like, it doesn't make sense to go in the house, wash up my hands, take off my dirty clothes, go do the thing. And I have to come back out here and just do 5 more minutes. Well, when you're not used to gardening in the springtime, how many of us feel really sore the next day after that unaccustomed bending, lifting, reaching? Yeah, you gotta pay attention to your body. And so now I know when I get a twinge, I literally leave the shovel, go in the house, I warm up, I relax, I do some of my self-care work to say I love you muscles, I rub some of those neurolymphatics, and then I'm able to go back out in an hour and I'm fine. But I never want to learn that lesson again of pushing too far. But that's typically what happens when people overreach, overdo. The plain thing is they end up laying themselves out. Pulling a muscle might not be straining a ligament, but they're pulling a muscle and then they're unproductive for days or weeks afterwards. So it wasn't worth it. You weren't saving any time at all.
Especially in the long run of a couple weeks going by. And I do have one of my students who's in her 70s who shoveled for 4 hours the really heavy snow and with a big bucket shovel, and she's a tiny little person and she has not been able to move for weeks as a result of that. And what happens is inside, they think, I should be able to have done that. And then they get really angry at themselves for not being able to do the task and for their body to not support them in the endeavor. And so there was a lot of anger that as we drive in the car to lessons that she was expressing about how could her body just do this to her. And she was really upset that she just didn't have that kind of strength and she should have. And I said, maybe it would be good to have a cup of tea and thank your body for all the service it's done and apologize. Realize that you pushed it too far, apologize, and give the body an opportunity to say, you actually care. So to be able to respond. And it seems kind of crazy to have that kind of conversation, but we don't realize how our thoughts just materialize in our head and then our body is supposed to respond. It might not want to, and we don't give it that opportunity. So thank you for the example of the snow, because it really does lend itself to how we get into a situation where we just don't pull ourselves back out again. And we're doing a good deed.
And it's not like it's light, fluffy snow, but then there's that repetitive action, right? But out here, it's very, very humid, very damp. And if you don't get after it right away, it gets heavy. And the snow you've been having over on the East Coast has been,
Never
I
ending.
would so not be living there for the winter if I saw that snow coming down. I would just say, I'm not coming home till spring. I'm going to go visit my friend on the West Coast for a couple months. But the emotions also. A lot of people associate love with the heart, and the heart is in the fire element. And it's unrecognized by most that love is also in the wood element. So transmuting anger, frustration, resentment, love is really important. Choice is important. Responsibility is important. But my favorite is when people are in a state of negative emotions like anger, resentment, is to ask a question around transformation. Because the liver, as an organ, transforms the substances coming up from the small intestine. Transforms, it breaks things down, it rebuilds components, makes hormones and enzymes and things like that. It transforms substances. But what about the metaphysical aspect ourselves, our metaphorical aspects of ourselves? And it's really great question to ask. Is there something in my life that would benefit from some type of transformation? So thinking about, I don't want to be living in anger. What can transform so that I can live in more joy and happiness? Happiness and content are also emotions in the wood element. So if you let go of anger and resentment, what would have to transform to bring you to feeling more happiness and contentment? And just asking that question to yourself, your unconscious mind will start going, oh, maybe I need to look at opportunities to change the tone of a conversation, that otherwise would lead to frustration. And magic can happen. Your head, your brain's very powerful.
And as you're changing and transforming those thoughts, those muscles we talked about have a chance to change too. And the pattern that you're going to move with is also going to change. So if you have overextended yourself and you shoveled too much and you were using muscles in ways that they're not really designed in order to get the job done, you have this opportunity in the transforming of those emotions to transform those patterns back to something that's going to work well. So you don't repeat it by going out to shovel 2 weeks later and repeat the injury in about 2 minutes time because the body recognized it and said, I'm saving you now. It just immediately switches. So really important. Okay, thank you, Denise, for shining the light in that way. Kate, I wanted to look at what happens when people lack direction or clarity. And that can be when the wood element energy gets low. Could you talk a little bit about lack of direction?
Gee, is that me? Maybe
That's you.
that's me. Um, life is about your journey. Where you've been, where you've gone, and now where are you going? And so as we get older, we sometimes wonder what next? And it's a hard question too. So you either journal about it and you talk to yourself a lot about it or somebody else. And
Your friends here.
yes. And your body, if we disconnected this and we only have the body, there's a floundering on both sides. And so those emotions, just sort of sit there, and then the body itself starts to mold itself a certain way due to those emotions. And you don't really realize it till you wake up one morning and your body hurts, or you didn't sleep well, or your knee gives out on you, or the hip shifts a little bit, or those muscles. And those are the things that you want to look at. Or maybe your shoes don't fit right anymore because the muscles in your feet changed. Those are interesting things to think about. So your journey is also about your posture. It's not only the emotional side of it, but it's about other health issues that could come up. And in cold, cold weather, it does a lot. If you're not used to the cold and your body shrivels up like this. And when the sun comes out, you go like this. And, you smile and you go, okay. But how do you make do with everything? It's a tough one. And so emotions mold muscles. They change structure, they change everything. You don't really realize how powerful your mind is in the things. So, the books that we read, what is it? I had a book that was uh, Power of a Negative Thought, not a power of a positive thought, but the power of a negative thought. And so looking at the positive and the negative in the middle, where do you sit? And if you're having structure problems, muscle problems, health issues that reflect a muscle that moves into an organ or the element, then you have to sit back and look at that and think, well, how do I undo that? How can I shift the energy field so that my body starts to unwind itself? So those are the things. So, everybody sits at home and they watch the tube, or they don't do a whole lot. I can't say that about me because that's not me, but a lot of people just, as you get older, I think, and I want to say older, I don't know so much about the younger generation. I think anything below 50, I hope they're still going strong. But anything above that, people tend to slow down, and they are, it's like the lady at 70 shoveling snow. Well, she still thinks she's 35. And so she can't figure out why she can't do this and hurt so bad the next day. It's because her body has shifted and it's changed, not only biochemically, but bioenergetically. And so there's a whole new mindset. And I don't like the word aging, but it is a transformation within all the elements that take place as we get older. And it's the environment, it's our air quality, it's our water quality, it's all the things that encompass living so that we can mold into the person we really want to be, or allow the body to be healthier, uh, perform shoveling snow and not get hurt, and still rub a point and we can get out of it. um, and I think knowledge is part of that too. We're very fortunate that all three of us have embraced a field in holistic health that we can do something about it. I feel very fortunate and very grateful that I found Touch for Health in 1986 because, and it was by pure luck that my chiropractor, her and her husband, Dr. Walker, Deborah and Scott Walker, who are well-known authors themselves and creators. I just remember, and I was entering sports massage at the time, and I remember as I was going through school, I was going through a lot of transformation. And I remember I go see Deb and she'd muscle test me, or Scott would, and he'd rub a point and I got better like immediately. And I said, wow, what is this? And and just by chance, after I graduated, Touch for Health came to San Diego and had a conference. And I got to meet Dr. Thie. I met everybody back in 86, so everybody was still alive. So I got to meet everybody. And I was just overwhelmed with a genuine, oh, it takes my breath away now. Wow. To know that there was something there that could help somebody so easy. Oh, I'm gonna cry. Um, um, uh, it just, you know, it's hard for me sometimes in my travels to go places, and I'm not sure if any of you feel this, but when nobody knows anything about this work, and
Mhm.
I've been doing it a long time, as you have, and it's sad. I get really sad to think that, I just test something, a muscle, and I rub a point, and boom, it's strong again. And the look on people's faces are like, oh, how did you do that? What is that?
Mhm.
I said, your body has a map. It already has it. It's already ingrained in it. It came with you when you were born. How lucky is that? And so I hope there's a lot of people watching us that can see that there are things that they can learn and do every day to unwind and transform and renew that body function. It's a gift. We are so lucky. Every single person born in this world has that map.
Mhm.
That's the most creative thing ever given to us. Oh man, that's getting me. Um, and because I just realized that. I mean, I write about the map. I wrote about it in the books, and you know, every single thing that are these wonderful people, men that and women that I've met, put down in books and taught us, and were these originators of bringing this stuff forward, have given us. What a gift. And I really hope that anybody watching this podcast will take it and go into the library because the books are there and research it. Buy a book, get a book, read it because you can start rubbing a point. You don't need a muscle test, just rub the point, find somebody, I'm looking for somebody who does somebody's stuff right now. I saw a technique that I wanted to have and use. I can't find anybody in the Midwest that does this. That just amazes me, and I learn better by visual, not visual, but touch. I have to do it. I have to be with somebody and feel it and do it. I can't just watch a video all the time. I just don't do that. It doesn't equilibrate. So I'm trying to find somebody, and I asked last night, where is there anybody out here? Not a soul. That's even worse. That's like us. Where are we? You know,
And
so
this is a good opportunity to bring in here in the
uh,
Touch for Health world. You can
yes,
find if you go to canbewell.org and
yes,
you look at the directory, you can find people who are doing all different kinds of techniques, including the Touch for Health.
yes.
And we've
That's
got
great.
Muscle Tuners International. Denise has some amazing programs that she has set up on her website, and which those ones are in video for being able to learn at your own pace, but also to be mentored. So
Yeah.
that's another opportunity. But I really appreciate, Kate, what you said about we have that map inside and we
Uh,
just need to learn the map. And it's how beautiful is that? And it's true. We all
it's,
have the capabilities, and it's a wonderful opportunity to be able to know that inside we possess it all already. We just need somebody to turn the lights on for us. Such a
Years
beautiful.
ago, when I started Sports Touch, one of the slogans that I came up with back there was health at your fingertips. And that was my slogan, and I trademarked it at the time and had it for a long time. But what was really funny is that, 20 years later, we have health at PepsiCo, health at this, health at that. It's so your fingertips and this, it's like I started laughing because, yeah, I wonder who picked that up. You know, but at the time, nobody had it, but I just think these little things, even your feet, even your feet, you have digits that you can do all this stuff with. You roll on your side, roll over, a styrofoam thing and help your back. You have your whole body is an instrument that can be used to heal yourself. So I just think that there is such a lot of knowledge wasted at this time. And we, as a community of things, yes, there's a ton of people out there, and I'm glad there's people out there, but I still go places and I still can't find somebody that does any of this stuff.
There's thousands of people that have
And
been
there
trained.
are, yes.
Thousands in Canada, never mind the US.
Oh, well, yeah, well,
And because you guys are way bigger
yes,
and you've got way many more instructors than we do in Canada. But I
right.
know from having worked with the association, thousands of people have been trained, and yet they don't want to be seen as professional. They don't want to be on a website. They just support their families and their communities. And I've run into some people who are not on our website, but people will drive 2 hours to knock on their door and say, please help me. You did such a great job like 5 years ago. I need you again.
Yeah.
And there's just these hidden gems everywhere. So ask a neighbor, ask somebody in Philadelphia, if you know somebody in Ontario, or because there's a certain, when you take classes with one another, people often come to me and say, hey, I need my aunt in wherever place. Do you know somebody there? And I'll go, well, I know somebody near there who will know people in the neighborhood.
Right.
And who may not have progressed, to a professional level, but I'll take a level 1 touch for health balance from
Exactly.
anybody any day. It's
Mhm.
miraculous.
Yes. Yeah, you
So
don't.
I'm always happy to say, go see them. And,
Mhm.
if there's 2 or 3 referrals, give them all a phone call, see which one feels right to you or sounds right or whatever it is, and go experience it. May I take a moment to talk about that question on clarity?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I had an interesting awareness for the first time. I wanted to share it here to record it. The liver is an organ of detoxification. It works along with the gallbladder to break things down. It's about detoxification, right? Most people go, oh, it's springtime. I should probably do a liver cleanse and detox. That's pretty much common knowledge. But your question about how do we observe people with problems with clarity? And I went, oh, well, that makes sense. I'm talking to a number of people right now. They keep saying, my goal is to achieve clarity. I want clarity in my marketing. I want clarity in my life path. I want clarity in this aspect of making a decision. Maybe they don't have clarity because the organ itself is muddy
That's a good one.
with toxicity and how that affects our whole biofield. And so if it's a toxic biofield or, not pristine, shine, and pure, the brain may not be able to work in the same ways and reach the same ahas and conclusions and the magical, oh, well, let's put these 2 things together and come up with something new. And that's the clarity I needed. So thanks for letting me express that maybe those people who are complaining of needing more clarity would benefit from going to somebody and learning about being supported through a detox.
Thank you, Denise. That is just such a beautiful phrasing of how emotions and healing happen. because you have some people who sit trying to do clarity for months sometimes, and they keep coming back for their coaching sessions, etc., but it really never gets anywhere. They come up with one idea, but it doesn't stick, and then it kind of falls away. And exactly. I think this is a great place for us to wrap up our conversation, and just to shine a light on how people are thinking about the way that they're living and their thoughts, and then how those thoughts might be affected by some of these systems not working to the utmost, and to be able to bring that through. We had a couple of tools shared. So we had those fingertips on the forehead and lifting up. So we had that little piece. And then we have talking about transformation and metaphors and looking at how you'd like to transform. So I'll bring those two tools forward, because in each of our episodes, we've tried to share a little bit as we've gone along. And just bring some just final pieces. We have just a couple of minutes left. Denise, is there any other tool you'd like to shine a light on?
Well, what's really close to the frontal eminences for the stomach, which is the major, most amazing system for releasing general emotional stress. But if you continue upwards into the hairline, or where the hairline used to be for the maturing adults, if you touch right there very lightly. And
so you've gone a little bit further up into the hair on the front of the face.
On the forehead, yep.
Okay.
Just when you get to the hairline, stop there. And those are the neurovascular reflexes for the liver. And you support and what that does, neurovascular means the nervous system talking with the blood vessels. You get blood flow through the liver moving more efficiently. The liver is going to be able to do its job better, and you're going to feel better. And when your liver is ticking along properly, you have vitality, man. It's not that we're getting older, it's that our liver is getting tired of doing, cleansing all the, there's more and more stuff in our systems now. So if you want vitality, support your liver. And one way to do that is to touch right here at the hairline above your eyes with a light tugging touch, as Kate reminded us. That seems to activate it a little bit, makes it a little bit better.
Yeah.
That would be my tip.
Perfect. Thank you, Denise. And Kate, what would you like to put in as a tip?
So one of the things that I have in my book, as I called it, infuse and cleanse. So we cleanse with the neurolymphatic reflexes. So that would be rubbing underneath the breast on the right side, which is the liver, gallbladder.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would go ahead and we would hold the neurovasculars. So you would infuse the blood flow after you've detoxed the lymphatics. So that is the complete picture of how you detox.
Oh, I love it, because both of you, those are so simple. They are so easy to do, and that's what we wanted to shine a light on. This is not complicated. It sounds complicated when you're thinking 5-element theory. It's like, oh, that's got a lot of information. But the tools are so simple, and they are right at your fingertips. So
Perfect.
Denise has stood up. She's rubbing underneath the ribs and just holding those points.
Not underneath the ribs, underneath where the breast meets the torso. It's actually on the ribs.
On the ribs. There we go.
And only about 30 seconds will usually get things woken up and the lymph moving and cleansing. And then 30 seconds in the hairline. Thanks for putting those two pieces together as a system, Kate.
You're welcome.
Love it. All right. So this brings episode 6 to a close. The wood element reminds us that growth requires strength and flexibility. And anger is not something to suppress, but to look at as a signal. And it tells us something is blocked, misaligned, it's ready for a change. And when we listen to the signals rather than react to them, we can transform frustration into movement. We can take resentment into some clarity, which we've really focused on at this end here today, and anger into some purposeful directions. Now, coming up, we've got our last episode, so episode 7. Before I say anything about that, Denise, how can people find you? What's your resource?
Come find me at muscletuners.ca. There's tip button there that you can sign up to get 7 tips. There's a contact us button up in the navigation bar. You can choose to find phone numbers, send me an email, or book a session. It's all easy to find. muscletuners.ca.
Perfect. Thank you, Denise. And Kate, to find you, you've got your email, right?
Yes, it'd be Kate Montgomery at me.com. Also, if you're looking to learn more about it, I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook, and also Amazon has my books. So Sports Touch, The Athletic Ritual, and Injure Carpal Tunnel Pain Without Surgery.
Perfect. Thank you, Kate. That's great. So as we close off today, take a moment to notice where in your life have you been pushing too hard? Where might you need to soften, redirect, or release? And your body is always guiding you. You have the map inside. You just need to know how to follow the map. And we talked about Touch for Health as a term today. CanBeWell.org, the Canadian Association of Bioenergetic Wellness. In the US, it's the Touch for Health Kinesiology Association, which is Touch for Health with a number 4.us. There are places that you can find people who do this work, who are teaching it. And I can tell you that as an instructor myself, I love teaching level 1 and watching people light up when they figure out how simple the tools are and how quickly they can change a muscle. It is just such a lovely course to offer. So thank you for joining us for Emotions and Healing. We invite you to like, subscribe, share this episode with someone who might be navigating frustration, change, or decision-making challenges. And then stay tuned because episode 7 is the ministerial fire element. We're looking at circulation and triple warmer, so the 3 burners in the body, respiration, digestion, and elimination, and how they all work together. And we'll continue exploring how the emotions shape our lives and how we can work with them so that we can live well. All right, everyone. Kate and Denise, thank you so much for being here, and be well. Take care.
Bye-bye.